Well, welcome back to another video. Today's video is just going to be a quick review of my winter ultralight sleep system. So this system weighs 1.9 kilograms and has two quilts. It has a down quilt and a synthetic quilt, as well as the mat, a pillow and a pump. So the sleep system is capable of going down to -28, -29 Celsius, which is -20 Fahrenheit. I don't use Fahrenheit, I think it's stupid, but just thought I'd add that in there. So even though it is ultralight for winter, it's obviously not the lightest setup that you can get. But considering it can go down to -28 degrees Celsius, it is unlikely that you're going to get anything much lighter than that. Most sleeping bags capable of going down to around about -30 weigh close to 1.9 kilograms. And as you can see, it does pack down fairly small. It takes up about half of my 35-litre bag. I'll just plop them there. So the system's packed up into two separate bags, and in this one we've got the 950 fill power -17 quilt, which is from Enlightened Equipment. This is the Enigma. In this one we've got the NEMO Tensor Extreme pad, we've got a pillow, and then we've got a synthetic top quilt which is rated for 10 degrees. So when you combine the -17 quilt and the 10-degree quilt, it all comes to -28 or -29. So the way that the system works is there's a down quilt, and over the top of that I put a synthetic quilt. So that does two things. The first thing it does is, because the top quilt wraps around the mat, that pretty much eliminates all of the drafts, which is arguably the only downside of using quilts over a sleeping bag. And the second thing that it does is all of your condensation goes through your down quilt, then it goes through the synthetic quilt, and it's on top of the synthetic quilt that it rests. So rather than getting the down quilt damp, it just gets the synthetic quilt damp. That can easily just be wiped down, and it doesn't really impact the ability of the synthetic quilt to insulate. So all you would do is you would just set up your tent when it's nice and sunny, drape your quilt over the top, and it will be drying around about 20 minutes or so, ready for the next day. So there's massive benefits to using a synthetic quilt on the outside if you're doing multi-day camps. I've used this system now about 3 times, so I'm not massively experienced with it. But what I can say is that each time I've used it, I've been really impressed with it. It does completely eliminate the drafts, and I've never once had the down quilt get damp at all. So the two quilts both combine to -28 or -29, and the NEMO Tensor Extreme mat also goes down to -28. So theoretically the whole system should be able to go down to -28. And to be honest, I think it's incredibly unlikely that I'm ever going to experience anything like that in the UK. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put this out the side, and then I'm going to go through each of the items that are inside. So this is the Enlightened Equipment, and this is the Revelation. This is the 10 degrees quilt, and this is the synthetic, the Apex, I believe. And this is what goes over the whole thing, just to kind of cocoon it and kind of stop the draft and give you the extra little bit of protection from condensation. I'll just pop this here. I've got the Enlightened Equipment pillow, Flextail pump, and then we've got the NEMO Tensor Extreme mat. Now this is a seriously impressive mat in terms of how small it can pack down. I used to swear by the Exped mat, and I used to have the Exped ultralight winter down mat, and while it was very, very comfortable and very warm, the pack size of it was ridiculous. So it was at least twice the size of this. When I got this, one of the main reasons why I got it was just simply because it packs down much smaller. It just allows me to pack everything away. It's a little bit lighter than the Exped, but maybe only 50 or 100 grams, so not too much. But it does pack down significantly smaller. I'll just pop that down there, screw this up. So the way that these quilts work is they use layers of, it's like foil that goes all the way through the mat. So their lightest version, which is called the Tensor Trail, that uses 1 layer of foil. Their next one up is the All Season, that uses 2 layers. And this, which is their Extreme, this uses 4 layers. So essentially that just reflects the heat back up to you. I'll be honest with you, unlike other mats, you don't kind of feel that heat being radiated in the same way. It definitely keeps you warm, but it doesn't radiate the heat in the same way that I felt the down did, or the way that the baffling system on the Thermarest does. So I think really this is a simpler version of insulation, but apparently it's just as effective, and it means that it can pack down much smaller than all of the other mats on the market. And I can't stress enough just how much smaller this packs down than the Xped. So my pet hate about this thing though is the green. I don't understand why they made it green. I wish it wasn't green. Why is it bloody well green? But it is green, so I just have to live with that. Luckily the top is black. Video?
Video.
Yeah.
Spot.
Nice backdrop.
Perfect.
So this is the regular wide size and weighs 626 grams. I always have a wide mat. You'll never see me having mummy shaped mats and stuff like that just to save weight. I've learnt my lesson, and I'll always have a regular wide mat because I value my sleep more than I value losing a couple of grams. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to inflate this now, and then I'll start going through the rest of the sleep system. So as you can see, it's a pretty big mat, and it is definitely quite wide. While we've got that inflating, I'll just quickly show you the pillow that I use. This is by Enlightened Equipment, and I believe it's called the Cloud 9. 102 grams, I believe it is. So it's not the lightest, but it's pretty comfortable, and it just has this attached elastic, which is just a really simple way of getting it to stay on your mat. It also has these little kind of beads of silicone or something on there just to stop it from moving around a little bit more. So I'll just blow this up now. So it just takes a couple of breaths. So as you can see on the back, there's these like tiny little kind of beads of silicone. They're not actually the stickiest things, but they do help stopping it from moving around. And then when used in conjunction with the elastic, it just stops the pillow from moving around pretty well. Oh well, like an absolute tit, I had the pump on suck instead of blow. So I've just sucked every scrap of air out of that mat. The weight of the pump is 59 grams, which is not too far off how heavy you'd expect one of those little kind of pump sacks to be. So to be honest with you, I'd rather just let the pump do its thing while I'm unpacking the rest of my kit. So as you can see now, it's almost finished pumping up. You're starting to see a noticeable difference in the inflation. It's funny the way it works, because it kind of takes ages to get it going, then all of a sudden it goes and just like kind of pumps up quite quickly. So there we go, almost done. Come on now. And one of the things that you notice is the tone changes once the pump's kind of done as much as it can do. So we're pretty much there now. Okay, so I'll just pop that over. So if we look now, we can see that there's still a little bit of air left to go in there. And usually it only takes around about 2 lungfuls to get it fully inflated. Oh! Accidentally fucking blasted my eye out. So the mat's fully inflated now. As you can see, it's really quite thick and very wide. I'm fairly broad, even though I'm a dwarf, and I do find that this is plenty wide for me. Like I said before, I'll always have a wide mat. I just value my sleep too much. So I'm just going to turn this round so that you can see the kind of baffling system on it, because it's a hybrid really. So I'll turn this round. So you can see that it's mainly horizontal baffles, but they're also kind of hybrid vertical baffles. So I think the general rule of thumb is that horizontal baffles aren't the best for side sleepers. And that's one of the reasons why I changed to Xped, because they have vertical baffles, which is much more comfortable. So even though I initially went with this mat because it packs down much smaller than the Xped, what I've actually found is this is actually more comfortable than the Xped, which surprised me. I was expecting to sacrifice a little bit of comfort for the packability. So it's quite interesting. So what I found with the Thermarest is I would just have a completely dead leg within minutes, and I'd be tossing and turning just to try and get like kind of some feeling back in me hips and my legs and things like that. With the Xped, I did find that it got a little bit dead every now and then, but to a much lesser degree, probably maybe 2 or 3 times during the night. But what I found with this is it just doesn't happen at all. And I think it's down to the fact that each one of these little pockets is its own like little suspension system. So it helps distribute the pressure across your whole body. I believe that there are better systems than this for doing that, but this one, to be honest, has really surprised me, and it is very, very comfortable. So all in all, I'm very impressed with this. Just turn it back around to the black side because I hate the green. There we go. What I'm going to do is just wrap this around. There you go. So as you can see, stays in place quite well. There we go. So I'm just going to move back to give myself a little bit more room to play. Okay, so next up is the Enlightened Equipment Enigma quilt. It is a short, wide, 950 fill power and is good for up to -17. So I'm just going to get this out now. So I got this custom made in pretty white and orange colours, and also the size and fill power that I needed. Okay, just pop that there. So I'll just give this a bit of a puff up. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, this has got a sewn foot box, so there's no zip like you would see on most Enlightened Equipment quilts. And on the bottom side of the quilt, you have 2 clip points. Now you can use both of these to go around your mat just to keep it secure, but what I've found is I actually only really ever use the bottom one, which is kind of crotch height, and I just attach a loop to that, and I have it closed in as much as it will go. So there's lots of options. It's a very flexible and versatile system, but the way that I found works the best is to have these as close as possible with just the loop there. You then wrap this around the mat, and that's what keeps it in place. Lots of little flying things around today. And what I would do with the second clip, which is around about chest height, is I just clip it to itself. And what this does is it just creates a kind of sleeping bag effect with the quilt. So as you can see there, that's it all kind of cocooned around you. So I'll just put this together now. Go. Oh. So as you can see now, the quilt is attached to the mat using the little hoop there, and we've got the top part open. So this allows you to toss and turn in your sleep without the quilt itself rotating. And what you usually find with sleeping bags is as you rotate, the whole bag rotates with you. So you can end up with this kind of zip in the wrong place and things like that, with really quite bad cold spots and things like that. So as I said before, what you can do is you can clip these together, and then what this does now is this is effectively just created a sleeping bag. So the obvious difference though would be that there's no hood on it. When you're in the winter, you're almost definitely going to have a woolly hat with you anyway. So that's the idea really, is you would just use your woolly hat to kind of supplement the hood. So what you can also do as well is there's like a little clip at the top. So if you clip that together, this would be kind of around your neck, and then there's a cinch here. So you then just cinch this together, and that is where your neck would be. And there's an optional baffle as well, which kind of helps keep the drafts in. I've chosen to have this because it just makes sense on a winter quilt. So if I unpop this little popper, there we go, and then undo the cinch. So you can see there that once you've undone the cinch and the popper around your neck, there's quite a lot of room around your shoulders so that you can have a very nice kind of comfortable sleep and toss and turn. So this Enigma quilt weighs 731 grams, which is really, really light considering how warm it is. So next up is my synthetic top quilt. This is the Enlightened Equipment Revelation. So this is a plus 10 degree quilt, and it weighs 347 grams. So not that much weight for the amount of extra benefits that it has. So as I said before, this basically eliminates drafts it causes all of the condensation to come through the down quilt, through the synthetic quilt, and then kind of rest on the top, which you can just wipe off. And obviously because it's synthetic, it doesn't really impact on the insulation properties of the whole system. But not only that, because this quilt wraps quite far around the mat, it pretty much eliminates the draft as well. So this quilt does have a zip foot box, but what I've actually done is I've a quite elaborate kind of set of elastics and clips and things going on there. So it's actually quite interesting because I actually set up these kind of different elastics and things like that just so that I could test to see if it works. But actually this works so well that I don't really see the point in doing anything else. What my initial plan was is I was going to have like a really thin sheet of kind of material that went underneath so that the whole thing kind of cocooned around. But honestly this just works fine, so I don't really see the point. So essentially the way that this works is there's one strap kind of at crotch level, there's a strap at chest level, and then there is a series of elastics which kind of all kind of gather around the foot box. And what I've done is I've popped together the foot box but not zipped it together. So if it was to be zipped, it would kind of do that and create the foot box. So what I've done is I've left it open, and what this allows for it to go all the way around the bottom part of my mat. So I'm just going to show you that now, because obviously one of the most important things is that things like this are easy to set up in the tent when things are a little bit cramped and you know you're cold. So as you'll see, it goes on really quite quickly and quite easily. Interestingly, it's probably harder putting it on this way than it would be putting it on inside a tent. There we go. Right, so as you can see, the bottom part wraps all the way around the mat. It wraps all the way around the foot box, keeping the drafts in for your feet, which is really important. But not only that, but as you can see, this quilt goes all the way around the bottom, which means that as you're tossing and turning, the drafts can't get through. So what you would typically find is you may get the occasional draft going in, but with this going over, it really does completely eliminate that. Okay, so as you can see, this is the sleep system in its entirety, all put together. So this top quilt is actually inside out, and it's done for a reason. So as I've shown you before, you get a popper on each side, which allows the quilt to kind of come around and kind of go around your neck. But what this also now means is the popper from the bottom quilt and the top quilt both work together. So you can snap them together. And you can snap these together. Which means that these are now connected. And then what I usually do is I use the two cinches. And what I would do is I would put the cinch for the top inside the cinch for the bottom. Ooh. And then put them together. And what this does, this just keeps everything together and stops this from riding down, which, to be honest, the only real flaw that I found in this system is that it does occasionally ride down, but honestly you pull it straight up and it's not really that much of an issue. So having it like this just keeps everything together, and honestly it really does do a great job of managing condensation, and as you can see from the side there, just completely managing the drafts. Now obviously having these two quilts joined together by the poppers doesn't work when you're going to want to join these together because it's got really cold. So if I was to join this around now, let's just get it into kind of very cold mode. So you'd have it like that where it's all nice and cinched around your neck. But because we've got these cinches joined together, it still keeps everything together. And what happens now is this falls to the floor, which pretty much eliminates the draft. So as I said before, I've only used this 3 times so far, but what I'll do is if I do find that there are the occasional drafts, I'll probably just add another piece of elastic to there and on the other side, and I'll just have it so that it just goes around the bottom there, which would completely eliminate any chance of a draft. So actually when I was camping in -6, I actually ended up having this popper undone most of the night, and I didn't really have it cinched in too much, so I actually had it really quite open, which allowed me to toss and turn in my sleep quite a lot, and obviously it just meant that this was falling down to the bottom and providing as much draft protection as possible. So I think I got the long version of the top quilt, the long wide. I think if I was to do this again, I'd actually probably get like the extra long, just to allow this to go even further over. I haven't experienced any issues yet with the top part kind of getting damp or anything like that. But what I will do is next winter, when I start using this system more, if I find that it is an issue, I'll just buy another one of these and I'll just get a longer one, because at the end of the day, I'm really pleased with the sleep system and I think it works brilliantly. So there we go, a nice and quick review. I appreciate that it's a little bit strange that I'm doing a winter kit review in shorts and a t-shirt, but I've been asked by a few people to review this system, so I thought I'd do it now rather than waiting until next year. And the chances are, as I say, because I've only used this 3 times so far, the chances are I'll do an update review next year in the winter when I've used it a few more times. So I'll add a video at the top so that you can see this sleep system in action during an actual wild camp. If you're new to the channel and you've not yet subscribed, please do consider subscribing. I'm working very hard at the moment trying to grow the channel and trying to get some quality content on. If you like the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you've got any comments or suggestions, let me know below. I do get back to everybody, so I'll see you down there.